Attendees should also note that recording will include the audio and video from this evening's meeting. Presentations will be available to download from the BRAG webpage. I would ask that anyone in the room with us this evening, please refrain from speaking unless you are presenting or answering questions so that background noise is minimized for those viewing remotely. If members of the public pre-registered to comment on specific agenda items, I will provide you with an opportunity to comment after the agenda item is presented. We appreciate everyone's patience and ask that you hold any comments until the designated time. I ask that you please introduce yourself by giving us your name and community you represent before moving on with your question or comment. Members of the public joining us via Microsoft Teams will be able to view the meeting only. For security reasons, the chat function in Microsoft Teams is not enabled for MDTA personnel. Any posts entered in the chat window are not visible to staff and will not be responded to. As a reminder, this meeting is being recorded in its entirety. For the record, all members are present except for
David Arthur. Commissioner Moran's not here yet. And Peter Bradley and Donald Schloss both have resigned as their term has expired.
So we have enough for quorum.
We did.
Just to touch on that, members are required to attend a minimum 50% of the meetings in a year. If they miss more than that, they need to provide a justifiable explanation to remain a member. Otherwise, they are considered to have resigned. That's up. Great. All right, before we continue, I'll just share that Governor Moore recently announced the appointment of Catherine Thompson as the Secretary of the Maryland Department of Transportation. At this time, I will turn it over to ex officio member Farrow for any additional comments. Any additional comments?
MDU.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was not paying attention.
The appointment of the.
Ms. Catherine Thompson.
Okay.
And it says the Secretary of the Department of Transportation. I'll turn it over to you, ex officio member Farrow, for any additional remarks.
Oh, I don't have any remarks yet.
Okay.
I have not yet met the acting secretary, but she started today and she was in new employee orientation today. So, but yeah, we're all excited and grateful to acting secretary Biddle for all of her hard work.
Okay.
I will echo that and just say for the record, Bruce Gardner, that I did get to meet the new secretary this morning. I presented to the new employees and the secretary was there. And I got a lot of Bay Bridge and Key Bridge questions from the new employees. So she got to hear my briefing on the Key Bridge and the Bay Bridge as part of that. So I'll have another opportunity next week, but yeah, good start to the new year.
And our next meeting.
Next meeting in April or 12th.
Let's see.
See the end of the session, right?
Yeah, won't be until the end of the session.
Okie dokie. All right. Our first agenda item is review of the minutes of the previous meeting held in October. I didn't see anybody send any questions back from Melissa, so if everybody's okay with that, can I have a motion to approve? Second? Second. So move, all in favor?
Aye.
Our next agenda item is a requirement of House Bill 56, which is a report on the group's activities since the last meeting and any recommendations they have based on those activities. As for BRAG duties, they are to provide the MDTA with an independent citizen-informed perspective of the authority's operations of the Bay Bridge. Thus, potential concerns about activity at the Bay Bridge, educate the public about activity related to the Bay Bridge, and work with the MDTA and provide pertinent input related to traffic and customer service issues. Would any members like to share their individual educational activities and interactions with their communities?
Thank you, Nick. Obviously, we just had the holidays, so not a whole lot of action, but in November, I attended, business, the Queen Anne's County Chamber business awards program. And there was a lot of talk there about upcoming bridges and also about the Baltimore Bridge and so forth. Even Mr. Broderick, he was awarded nice honor there too. That was very directed. And then I was at another fair. It was VAMSA, Veterans group that we have on tour. Well, and, that group seems to be getting organized pretty good right now, moving along. Their concern was bike and pedestrian paths on the bridge, because they, veterans jumping, or I should say suicide, is concern of theirs. And there was some questions about that. And the only thing I could tell them is that it's proposed to have, bike or pedestrian path, not guaranteed, that's all. If I lied, I lied. But, yeah, that's it. I think that's about it. I'll just say that, I went to several holiday parties and the same thing, how's the bridge coming, what's going on with the bridge, the bridge. And I answered by saying, seems to be moving along pretty good. And people are excited because you actually, have something in front of them they can hold and see the new bridge coming. I get, one last thing, probably the asked question I get is, will we be alive to see it? And that's all I don't know. That I can't answer.
Briefly.
All right.
That's it.
All thing I had was come over tonight, there's a tractor trailer getting on the contraflow lanes, and I don't know what. I just can't say they're babysitting everybody, but it's a whole issue like that. Bridges built sooner than later, before we all died, and we'll don't worry about it.
He's in the Westbound Bridge.
We had a contraflow lane coming over. We've been talking about that before, in the time. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I do that. I went to those two, large meetings Nick just talked about, and, there is a good amount of, conversation on the island, on the eastern shore about the bridge. There's been good coverage in the press. And the announcement of the MDTA's backing the alternative C generally has been well received. But I get two questions, and they relate to kind of the same thing, but in different ways. One is, what's going to happen with the traffic going across Kent Island. They're still concerned about widening of Route 50. But on the other hand, I had folks be concerned about if you're coming off a 4-lane bridge and go into a 3-lane Route 50, is that really going to work over the long term? So both of those concerns are out there. And Nick mentioned the optional shared use plan. I had a call today from a guy, and it mirrors some of the conversations that I guess Nick heard too. There is general support, I think, for that optional shared use plan. However, reference the Golden Gate Bridge there, that folks can always go back and forth across, but suicide prevention should be an important consideration. And I've been asked, is there a suicide prevention aspect to the new bridge? And I don't know. I'll just leave that as a question mark. And
Heather can address that in her presentation to you.
Great, okay, that's good, So we look forward to more information, but I think generally, the idea of a new bay crossing is welcomed over on the shore, because it's like, we said in our draft, letter, these are the good old days. It's only going to get more challenging in the future, without help, but thanks.
Well, no, we just got more questions. We'll wait till later when we get to some of the presentations.
Pat?
Yes, I'm voicing the same comments that you both made. I'm on the board of the Broadneck Council and the Drug Action Network, which is countywide. And I give them both the same report when I did the transportation studies for both of them, the reporting. And I just said, wait until today, January 7th, and I'll tell you everything I hear in the meeting, and that's all I'm gonna tell you for that period. So what I hear today is what I'll go back and.
I'll wait until the presentation.
I think just want to say, just to continue the ways and the means in which you've been communicating, right? The forums have been good, right? Whether it's through meetings or whether it's through the website or social media or whatnot, just continue just to blast information that way. And I think people will start to pick up like where and how the information is coming. So that's pretty much the gist of what I've heard from folks.
All right, next agenda items is an update on current projects from MDTA Chief Engineer Jim Hartness and MDRT SHA Deputy Administrator Chief Engineer of Operations Terry Steve. Oh,
I guess I can go first because it's really short, Jim, so you can get ready. We don't have too much new to share since our October meeting. We're still looking at our options for the ramp management to start in the spring. We expect to do similar operations. We are considering adding back the Thursday ramp closures on the Anne Arundel County side, although we're still working with stakeholders on that. So we will present our final determinations at the April meeting. And on the Kent Island side of the bridge, we are looking at options to add a gate, which would help our operations at Maryland 8. But they're still exploring that as well. Other than that, we will start, again, we plan the weekend before the Memorial Day holiday, and we would go through the Labor Day long weekend. So those are my only updates, really, but I'll take any questions if you have questions.
any questions?
Yeah, I did.
Well.
We'll go through our quarterly update on the capital projects currently underway at the Bay Bridge. So we'll start with projects that are in construction, BB 3017, which is the eastbound deck replacement phase 1. So we have, obviously, I think the update from last time, we had completed the installation of all the panel segments. So the 156 panels were in. We were working on the link slabs. I think we had 60 at the time of last meeting. We were able to get up to 119 of the 133 done. So we missed the mark by 14. And so they will complete those. It was temperature sensitive work, so we're going to complete those in the spring when the temperatures return. So that is just about 90%. And we're also out there doing what we call kind of the western truss strengthening. So the portion of the deck west of the suspension span. So they're working underneath, doing the deck strengthening there. We have scope that we had added to the project for doing the barrier replacement within the suspension span. So that is currently in design and fabrication, and we anticipate to start installing that in February. And other than that, that's the work that is currently included for that project. Next project, BB 3021. This is our on-call, so just one of the cyclical projects to address inspection findings. We currently have 9 active tasks assigned for that contractor, and the contractor has completed 7. So just a continual process out there with feeding that contractor new work as they wrap up the work. Now we'll go to projects that are in procurement. So BB 3025, it is a cleaning and painting project on eastbound bridge. We're calling it phase 1. It's going to, kind of follow the work that was done on the redecking. So when they did a bunch of the redecking, they did truss strengthening. We also, we're kind of following behind that and cleaning and painting that structural steel. Included in this, though, is suspension tower work. So from the water to the bottom of the deck, we're doing eastbound towers, getting those cleaned and painted as well. And so that project, I said, was in procurement. It actually advertised back in November, and we expect to open bids by the end of this month. So then that would give us a notice to proceed for our contractor to get out there in spring, just to start working. Next project that's in procurement is BB 3004. That's the construction of the maintenance equipment storage building. So that building, again, it's on this shore, on the south side of the bridge there. It's a new building for storing maintenance as equipment pieces. That design has been submitted to our procurement group. We expect to advertise in February. If everything worked out, the construction would kick off in fall of this year. And lastly, is still in design, not yet ready for procurement, is the Bay Bridge Protection Project. So that's the project to enhance the bridge protection system that's out there. We have put together a project that's an alternative delivery, so a design build project. It's going to have a fixed price, and we expect it to advertise in early February. And that, because it's a design build, it has a little bit of a longer procurement process, so we would look to be able to award it if everything goes off well by September, so before fall of this year. That's my updates.
So, phase two, for the deck replacement has not been, procured yet, has not been signed off?
No, not phase two.
Or is that something we're trying to get done, or is it something that?
Yeah, we have design done. It was just a scheduling issue. So we're looking to probably do something later this year with that.
Okay. Is it the same amount of length, same amount of panels? Is it?
It's approximately the same.
It doesn't go all the way to.
No, it just is from the suspension span on this side.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's around through the curve.
Okay.
So it's approximately the same, slightly.
Yeah. And then the bridge protection is that, I mean, I know that there's been conversations about it and hear all kinds of things, but you're gonna be putting that in place so that when you do construct the new bridge, then it won't be in the way. It'll be where it's supposed to be for the new bridge. Is that?
That would be the plan.
That would be the plan to put it.
So the design build team, when they're brought on board, Heather will go into more about, the planning study, but the two are going to coordinate, certainly.
Because if you're if it goes to an award this fall, I imagine how much, you won't have any design work for the new bridge done, but it's something that, I don't know how that's your world. I don't know how you know where to put them to.
Right. The planning team that is working with Heather, and then whatever team we bring on will closely coordinate on what they can. So they're going to do the best again, that's a phase one Bay Bridge protection. And so we're going to just definitely coordinate on what we can do under that project versus what a future bridge would look like and where that would be.
And Jim, the completion of that protection project, when is that estimated?
He was talking there for you.
Winter of 29.
29, okay.
So we were anticipating a 2-year construction, so.
Anybody got any other questions?
Do we know what does that look like? Do we know what it looks like?
Will be in the zone.
Not yet designed. So we have a concept, because it's still procurement, we haven't put out a whole bunch of information on that yet, but basically what we're asking the design build team is to bring forward innovation. So what we are putting forward was in order to obtain permitting. So we're trying to obtain permitting. We're doing some work, getting some soil samples out there right now where we think they would need protection features. So we're doing some of that work so that we can provide that to the teams that are looking at proposing on the job. But we don't want to presuppose anything. And so, We're not exactly sure what it would look like right now, so that's part of why we're going design build is so that between a designer and a contractor, we could innovate and give us as much as we can get, because again, I said it was a fixed price, so we have a fixed budget for the job and saying, give us what you can for this budget.
No other questions?
Gotta be able to stop what? 100,000 metric tons? What, is there some sort of engineering parameter that
There is
says?
a design vessel, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have a cross and tier 2 NEPA study from the MDTA Department of Planning and Program Developments, Planning and Community Relations Manager, Heather Williams.
Hello, everybody.
You know it.
We have the
We did.
presentation ready. So I do want to say Melissa Williams is sorry she can't be here tonight. This is a big presentation. I know she really wanted to be here, but I'm gonna do my best to fill her shoes. Okay, next slide. All right, so I think this group of any group really knows why we need a new bridge. And I do want to mention, that I meant to mention previously. So here, I'm going to present the exact presentation that Melissa and I gave to the MDTA board December 18th, where they then approved alternative C as the MDTA recommended preferred alternative. So, okay, back to the presentation. So we know we don't have enough travel lanes. We've got a bottleneck at the Bay Bridge, the frequent two-way operations, narrow lanes, no shoulders, aging bridge spans, and ship height clearance restraints. So our recommendation is a new modern Bay Bridge with 2 new 4-lane spans with full shoulders and a 230-foot navigational clearance with that optional shared use bicycle path that we've, bicycle and pedestrian path that we've already heard mention of tonight. Next slide. So alternative C, the MDTA RPA or recommended preferred alternative, would have the benefit of removing the traffic bottleneck at the Bay Bridge in both directions on non-summer weekdays and eastbound on summer weekend days. It has the least environmental impacts to natural, environmental, cultural resources and community resources, and it's the least expensive of all of the build alternatives that we're studying. So the cost without the shared use path is between $14.8 and $16.4 billion. With the shared use path, it's between $16.1 and $17.6 billion. Please keep in mind that these are planning level cost estimates in 2025 dollars. The costs for the other alternatives, as well as the environmental impacts, will be shared in the draft EIS, the draft environmental impact statement, that is going to be published later this month. So there's going to be a lot more information out. Next slide. So the design features of alternative C that would include 2 new spans with full shoulders across the Chesapeake Bay. It would have 4 12-foot wide travel lanes, 12-foot wide shoulders along the median, and 14-foot wide outside shoulders. That 230 feet vertical clearance that I mentioned, and a 3% maximum bridge grade. The new eastbound structure would be located south of the existing eastbound span, and the new westbound span would be located between the 2 existing spans. We would remove both the existing spans, and the new bridges would include the pier protection that we've talked about to meet current standards. There would also be financial commitments for transit-related improvements and that optional bicycle and pedestrian shared use path. The bike ped path would be located on one of the bridges, and it would be barrier separated from the travel lanes. It would connect to the existing bicycle and pedestrian networks on each shore. It would also include a fall protection system. So we would be looking at that as well. Looking at the approaches to the bridge, US 5301 would be widened to 8 lanes, so 4 each direction from west of Oceanic Drive to east of Cox Creek to allow sufficient room for that transition to the new bridge. And the US 5301 in this widened section would include 12-foot wide shoulders along the median and outside travel lanes. Next slide. So we can see a lot of economic benefits coming to the region as well. We used economic models to estimate these benefits to the economy and employment in the state. The construction of a new Bay Bridge could bring between 17 and $23 billion to the local economy and create over 61,000 jobs, with over $4 billion in wages during the construction period. Benefits to the state include boosting the GDP by 10.5 to nearly $13 billion. Next slide.
0.5, or is that a 10?
10.5.
Okay, we have a typo.
Is this the old one?
Wait.
Yes, I'm sorry. So it's not 0.5, it's 10.5. We left out the one there. Sorry about that. Okay, so, previous slide. So the Port of Baltimore benefits from the Bay Bridge improvements. By increasing the vertical clearance of the new Bay Bridge, there would be significant benefits to the Port of Baltimore. The new clearance would match the 230-foot vertical clearance of the new Key Bridge, so allowing those larger cargo carriers and cruise lines. These larger vessels would allow more cargo to travel into and out of the Port of Baltimore, increasing revenue. The increased activity would add jobs at the port for rail, trucking, construction, all attracting companies that rely on these large shipments and securing Baltimore as a top-tier port on the East Coast. So slide 7, what's next? So this month, as I mentioned, we will publish that draft environmental impact statement, where there's going to be a whole host of information out there on all of the alternatives, all of the potential environmental impacts. And that document will be, as I mentioned, posted later this month. So keep your ears open for that. Next month, we'll hold public hearings on the draft environmental impact statement. So in February, and when we publish the DEIS, the draft EIS, will be also announcing those public hearings. And at those hearings, the public will have the opportunity to review all of the alternatives and the MDTA recommended alternative and provide their input. So slide 8, next slide. So after the public hearings, we'll go back to MDTA and we will review and consider, look through all of the comments that we received during the DEIS comment period. We'll be working with the Federal Highway Administration and our partnering agencies to develop a final environmental impact statement and record of decision, which is to be completed in November of 2026. So we're in those last few months for this study. You guys have been part of it this whole time, so it's really exciting to be here. The record of decision will identify the federal highway selected alternative and complete the NEPA process. So beyond NEPA, beyond this planning study, as funding becomes available, and we'll be working as we're going to keep working. We're not going to stop working when the NEPA study is over. So we'll be working on securing that funding, and as it becomes available and we move into design and construction, we could begin construction in 2032. If I mean, the stars are aligning in that schedule, but that is pretty exciting. So I don't know, we might be around. What do you think? Yeah, 2032, it's not too far. Okay, so that's what I have for you today. Next slide. I think that's just a thank you slide. So we can open it up for questions.
How many years are they to complete, to start to finish?
We don't have that estimated yet. Yes, stay tuned for that. We'll be working on it.
Yeah, if I could just add on before questions, I just want to compliment Heather and Melissa and the team. Thank you for the compliment about the coverage and everything. I think, you know, we're trying our best to get the word out there about these through a variety of means. So that's a lot on the team that's been working on this. Our Director of Communications and Marketing, Brad Tanner, is in the background. I think we had some really good print media coverage on this. I really have to compliment some of the articles that were pretty comprehensive. Baltimore Banner, you know, right out the gate did a really good piece. I think that explained things well, because it's at something everybody's interested, but it's not necessarily like things you can comprehend right away. So do appreciate those efforts that the team has made. Getting the public out to these meetings in February is going to be important. As you all have indicated from your comments, you know, we hear everything when we're out there, right? We hear, is it enough lanes? Is it too many lanes? You know, different sides of the bridge are going to have different types of comments on that. Is a shared use path worth the investment? Or why would we do it without it? You know, because of national and economic development reasons in the air. The fall prevention, those things are all things that people are concerned about. So we want that on the record as we move towards federal highways, kind of endorsing a decision at the end of this year. And as Heather said, we know that the work isn't done after that. We know this isn't moving fast enough for a lot of you. But we are trying to move it as fast as the process will allow. And we also have, you know, some big things to figure out in terms of phasing and funding and everything else. But yes, we are open for any questions that you all have.
Do you know, when you go to widen out the bridge, but the lane is now from 3 to 4 on each side?
Mhm.
Does it fit in the land that's there? Or you're gonna do condemnation and
So when the draft environmental impact statement comes out, you'll see that there and the potential impacts. So there would be some widening required right outside of the right of way. Yeah, and we'll see that. So in a couple more weeks.
and you say that will be
That
in the
information.
report?
I'm sorry,
What report is that gonna be?
that's the draft environmental impact
Oh,
statement.
okay, yeah.
But we are doing our best to minimize any impacts. Certainly,
I would think so.
definitely try to avoid and minimize as much as possible.
Yes, you have on your alternative C design features, it looks like you have got 26 feet of roadway that is shouldered and, and provides and 14-foot wide outside. So you have 12-foot wide shoulders along the median and 14-foot wide outside shoulders.
That's right. That's right. Hold on.
That's a lot of shoulders.
Yes,
I mean,
Yes.
it's good because, if there's accidents, as you
right.
know, it ties up traffic to 97.
That's right. Yes, we're, as everybody does know, right, if there's an incident out there, it just buggers the traffic up.
So my question
So,
is now with the consideration of a bike and pedestrian path, which many of us are not in support of. Is it possible, or is anybody thinking of some kind of recreation, like you don't have the bike and pedestrian path, which with all the accidents and the suicides, as we've already mentioned, it's something that I hope you decide against. But is there a consideration as you're coming to that final decision that, the width of the shoulder will provide perhaps on a day a month or, a bike day, because people, in my opinion, are not gonna use that for business or transit. It would be a day on the bridge, just for fun. So I think it's I think
that's the first time I've heard that.
precaution, but if they just wanna ride, that it seems to be reasonable.
Well, it's a little complicated because to have the bike path on the bridge, we would have to barrier separate it. And it's not just barrels, it's a real concrete barrier for safety purposes. And that is all considered in the design of the bridge. And that's part of the reason why it's so expensive. Because it's all considered in the design of the bridge. So we'd have to have those barriers there to allow it.
So are you going to ask our opinions or the opinion, obviously you know what you want, you guys know already. But are you going to consider our opinions? How are you going to solicit input from the public as to what our recommendations are?
Well, the hearings. Come on out, please provide your
We're always
comments at
out.
these hearings. I know you are, yeah.
Get the public out.
Get the public out, let the people in your neighborhoods know, let your organizations know, please. We want to hear about it, absolutely. Especially comments on that, well, comments on everything, but certainly let us know what you think about the
Do you have a
potential
price
shared use path.
bike lane, without bike lane?
It's in the,
Yeah.
We do, yeah, it's,
already in.
so without the shared use path, it's, the alternative C would be 14.8 to 16.4 billion. But then with the shared use path, it's 16.1 to 17.6 billion dollars. So the shared use path is a little over $1 billion. It's a very expensive bike ped path.
Good reason not to have it.
A lot of people do feel that way, right? We hear the gamut. We hear the gamut on, people asking for, why would we do it? Why would we construct a new bridge without a path? And then other people are, have that same concern with how expensive it is and will it really get used? So, yeah, please
So
let
this
us
is the
know.
first opportunity we've had to put real, data and numbers public so they can, and when these documents will come out later, there's gonna be a lot of documentation on that. So all the people that are interested in that will have comparisons, not only to alternative C, but the other alternatives that are out there. So don't worry, we will not just make you listen for, but we'll, advertise and let everybody know with email blasts and media coverage and everything of when these documents are out there to dig into. So it's not gonna be, in the dead of night, we're putting something on a shelf.
We're
in the
gonna be
library.
loud.
This is important to have, you all are seeing this. I think, folks online will be able to see this, and recorded, just like they saw in our board meeting, so.
And the MDTA board has not, kind of goes one way or the other on the shared use. Right?
Just that we wanted to move it forward as for optional consideration here, so, right.
And, I would like to see some examples of where in the United States, there's a bridge that has this pedestrian path that's over 4 miles long. I mean, the major concern is somebody rides up there, nice sunny day in August and gets to the top and, well, or there's a thunderstorm or, you're gonna have some sort of cage around that pedestrian thing where they can't interact with the public or the traffic, but
Yeah.
they can't jump. So it's gonna be, just a huge tunnel. You got a huge tunnel, you got a medical emergency. What do you do? How do you get to them? I mean, I just see a whole lot. I mean, I'd love to have it, but I don't know how you're gonna make it so it's safe and.
And I think there are examples that will.
Yeah.
You're right. There are a lot of concerns and a lot of the bridges that have a shared use path, they are half the
Sure.
size, or you're right.
Yeah.
So this is an extra long bridge.
I mean, I think
Sure.
the selection, I think it's great. I mean, the 4 lanes are great. You've got 2 shoulders, which turn into lanes in the year 3000, when they need more lanes, they'll just, they use those and move on with it. So, I mean, I get all that. My biggest concern is when you get off the bridge in both directions. Going westbound, where does the 4 lanes disappear at?
So going westbound, the transition point from the 4 lanes to 3 lanes would be west of Oceanic Drive, so pretty close to where we are. We don't have it exactly narrowed down yet, but west of Oceanic
I think
Drive.
that's gonna be the problem.
Mhm.
I see that as a major problem because, it's not the bridge that's causing the bottleneck. Now it's gonna be SHA that's causing the bottleneck because they're going from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. Right, Oceanic. I mean, and we have the same problem eastbound. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't SHA own the property now? From 50 eastbound all the way, I think to the college maybe, or maybe a little bit further, the shoulders you purchased many years ago was the property. I mean, I look at this and I go, okay, well, you're gonna have 4 lanes, you're gonna come across, and Cox Creek is a stone's throw from the bridge. Trying to push them back to 3 lanes, and it's it's gonna get ugly. So, I
We
think that,
share your concerns, but it needs to be a comprehensive analysis of the entire board.
yeah, I mean, it was a corridor project to begin with, and it needs to stay a corridor project. But I envision 50 eastbound, 4 lanes coming off the bridge, you get to the 301 split, you lose a lane, now you're 3 lanes to 404. You lose another lane there and you're back to 2 lanes heading the rest of the way, because I don't know how you're gonna control that much traffic if you're not gonna do the overpass at 404 and all these other, get rid of the light at 213 and everything else. I mean, those are all tools that we use now to, meter the traffic, but, I think that the last thing I'd like to see happen is spend all this money and build this bridge, and in a year and a half, everybody's bottlenecked at both sides of it, because you have the Seven River Bridge, you got Route 2, and then you've got the Kent Narrows Bridge, and I don't even know how. Jim Harkness, so how would we make this Kent Narrows Bridge? How would he add 2 more lanes on that thing? Is it possible?
We scatter on 2 lanes.
Yeah,
Yes, we have not looked at that.
yeah, that's what I mean, so,
I mean,
go ahead.
And, I mean, Heather, with the documentation that's gonna come out at the end of the month, there will be, an opportunity to look at some of the analysis that we've done on this traffic for this alternative versus others. So that is where this is a broad overview. That document is gonna have,
That's what I'm saying,
just to see those things and have others, comment them. And, there will be, groups and organizations on both sides of all these issues, critiquing what we've done. And that's what this process is about.
Yeah, and I know Melissa's talked about how the bridge, lanes on the bridge don't carry the same amount of traffic that lanes on dirt carry. So it works that 3 lanes or 6 lanes leading into the new bridge, adding a lane to each span. It does work with the traffic. We do have to transition back from the 4 lanes to the 3 lanes on each side. But that does work from a traffic standpoint, because people get up there on the bridge and it's glorious, right? People are
And
looking
you
around.
have to get.
You have to get up and, right. And a lot of people are nervous. I'm of the mind that it's glorious, but a lot of people get real nervous and slow and drive slower too. So all that comes into play with that capacity.
So it is scientific traffic study that traffic slows down on the bridge versus on a normal highway.
Absolutely.
Well, vehicles per hour too. The number is much higher on 50 versus on the Bay Bridge.
Yeah.
Westbound. So, yeah, people just,
And,
like you
and,
says, this,
because, I mean, we get those same questions, that you just raised. And that's an interesting part of the discussion, that the reason that this may work is that traffic moves better once it's on land than it does when it's up on a bridge.
On a
Scientific.
bridge, going up, curving, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's all those things, right?
15, 20 years ago, you could do 65.
Yeah, right.
It's always.
Should we get our police in order?
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting piece of information.
Yes.
Okay.
it is right now, from conference level, Saturdays, they can back up the 5301 split, from the split back to the Kent Narrows Bridge. If all 3 lanes are running adequately. That's right now, conference level, just about every Saturday in the morning, that backs up from 5301 split almost to Kent Narrows Bridge area.
Just slowing down on the bridge.
That's just looking at all 3 lanes going eastbound or rolling with new issues.
Yeah.
It'll back up. Going the 2 lanes in the split, it'll back up from there, back to the Kent Narrows Bridge split. Okay. What you got there?
So I have a few comments related to the 3 to 4 lanes. As Jim said earlier, even though an earlier concept was to have the Route 50 extended to the 213 and 404 junction, but I understand that's not in the funding that is scrapped quite a while ago. But I think we're making a major mistake by not extending the 4 lanes in each direction from the bridge going over to the 5301 split, even though there's gonna be a bottleneck there. Even if you run 4 lanes to that point. But then when you're going westbound, major problem, if you just run three lanes or the four lanes to the three lanes on westbound. The problem is the Route 2 junction is a major problem. I've been running this route, the 50-97 corridor, for 29 years now. It is a major problem. Many, many days, there's no problem at the Bay Bridge. But the traffic is backed up from the Route 2 where the red hot blue place is, all the way back to 97, coming eastbound. That happens a lot, Jim. I don't know if you
No,
face that or not. But as
You
soon
gotta,
as
you
you
gotta
get
remember
through that,
97's already funded
I saw
for
that.
another lane, so
I did see
they're gonna get to there quicker.
Right, exactly. So I really question the four lanes of the bridge going into three. I think is a major issue. What happened to that earlier concept? I mean, just this year, last year, that was part of the plan. Why did they reduce it down to three just outside of the bridge area?
Money.
So this is the MDTA recommended preferred alternative. So it's not the preferred alternative and it's not the selected alternative. When we're going out to the public, we're gonna give you all the information in the DEIS and the technical reports. There's gonna be a lot of information, a lot on our traffic models that looks at all the alternatives that include the widening that you're talking about, as well as alternative C that has the widening just right at the bridge. And you'll see the environmental impacts, the traffic, the cost. There are a whole host of things that go into what made us as a team and as an agency recommend alternative C. So there's a lot of threading a needle, a lot to consider.
But you also have, with this plan, you're only doing one bridge. Present, correct?
That's not, no, this recommendation is for two bridges.
For two
Right.
bridges.
Two new spans.
Simultaneously?
No, one at a time, because we don't want to take, we don't, with the room and everything else. So,
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. So if one starts at 2032, I gotta imagine the other one's not gonna start until
It's
2042.
probably another 10, 12 years.
Easily. So if you, that to me is splitting it. So if you're doing eastbound first, which makes perfect sense, maybe for our cost savings, we only do those four lanes on the eastbound side until you need them on the westbound side. I'm just shooting from the hip, but I see that as a problem. If we're gonna space the two bridges, and I would venture to say 12 years apart is probably a good guess.
I mean, well, what do I know? But that's about what I would think what it would be then. Knowing what we see in the project up involved. Look how long that's been extending. So I guess another.
It hasn't been expended 12 years,
Yeah.
just to be clear.
No, I don't understand that though, but I'm talking about from the original timeframes that they gave to now what it's.
That we came up within 13 days of the collapse of the Key Bridge, yes. Just want to be clear about it.
Yeah.
I totally.
All that
understand.
stuff, I'll say it for the
I
record.
know, I
I
totally
said it the whole month of
understand that.
November, so I'll say it here.
Because nobody understands, as many people have asked me about it, and I said, look, there was a quick shot on the price and the time. Yeah. One other question, in this draft here, I think this was gonna be sent to someone,
That's coming up in a minute.
Oh, it's
yeah,
another letter.
related to the same subject that I'm still talking about. There is a mention towards the end of this article in reference to, in other words, if they go with the four lanes from the bridge on both sides, and then they taper into three again, which is not a good plan in my opinion, but that's another question. They mentioned other improvements along Route 50. Do you know what they are? Do we have a indication of what they are?
I'm not sure. the
It's in
context
this
of that.
article, I'd have to look it up right now. So we don't know that is yet. It's in
I'm
this
sorry, I
article
don't
You're
know
talking
what
about
that
an article or
is.
draft
here.
letter?
That's draft letter, yeah, and it says it's towards the end of the article. Look for
Draft letter.
the draft letter, yeah. And it mentioned about additional improvements along the Route 50 corridor along with this whole contract job.
That was probably part of the corridor.
It's in here, I have to look through it and find out it's in there, but I don't know if it's there. Does anybody know about that? What
No,
that mean?
I don't think there's any specific, recommendations at this
Okay.
time, but I think Tracy and I kind of conspired on putting this, together at the request of
Okay.
MDTA.
Gotcha, gotcha.
And we considered the concern, the same concern we're talking about. Most likely, there will be various points along the way, and that is really yet to be determined, where there may well be additional infrastructure.
And that's fair, that's a fair answer, if that's what it is. It just didn't say what for, that's all.
Right, yeah.
But related to that, just one more comment towards the subject that I'm talking about. In reference to the Route 50 corridor related to the Bay Bridge construction costing and so forth, the Route 2 area and Route 50 is a major issue. I don't know how many people were aware of that. I don't know how many people in here travel that route every day. Again, 29 years. It has gotten so bad. It's amazing when they reconfigured the Severn River Bridge from, what was it, 2 or 3 lanes to 4. It worked really well for a while, but something has happened drastically over the past years that, does anybody else travel that route every day?
I did.
I know you do,
30
Jeff.
years.
It's, you would not believe it. It's a major problem now. It's every day. And then you get past the red, hot and blue, or whatever it's called. In many days, the Bay Bridge is totally clear. Now, is that because the traffic is being backed up into that log jam there? Could be, I don't know. But I just wanted to bring that up. That's a major concern. That has to be addressed.
So,
And let me just add to that, is the fact that there is a bill on 9226 that is before the, council right now. To put in 100, it's 150 plus 60, over 200 townhouses right at the golf range, on Route 2.
Yeah, I saw
That'll
that.
shut down Route 2 highway. It is absolutely asinine that planning and zoning can let something like that go through. But that when we have meetings, we just laugh at the traffic studies that are supposed to analyze the intersections to be sure that when they put in any new developments and whatever, that the, all the issues with traffic intersecting in particular are approved.
All right, we need to stick
Can't
to
possibly
the Bay
improve.
Bridge. We're over in the BRAG part, so we need to, we're getting out of our jurisdiction here, I think.
So anyway, that's all I have on that subject right now.
Well, we're talking about the whole corridor, leading up to the Bay Bridge.
We can't do,
It's a very,
tell Amarillo County Planning and Zoning what to do that. We concentrate on our,
come on, guys.
we could concentrate on the bridge up here, so.
all right, to that point, I just wanted to mention something to David's comment about corridors in general, and I might be stepping a little bit on Terry and Will's toes, but with every corridor, highway corridor in the state, you have those similar challenges.
Yes.
My daily commute has it, others that aren't commuting, the commutes that you all see that. I think what we're trying to do here is the recommendation is saying that this is what we, feel like is beneficial for the capacity of crossing the bay, without causing any, adverse impacts. There might be other needs. Those need to be studied. Those need to be continued to be evaluated, looked at, and put into that, that pot of competing for that. Maybe down the line, there would be, consideration of what toll revenue should, cover beyond the Bay Bridge and the MDTA facilities. Those are all big policy, concerns that, we can't really address right away, but we feel like we've come up with the best recommendation for that, core of what this study was supposed to do. But again, we are looking for this input in terms of what is needed next, as this gets considered to be ultimately, hopefully approved by the federal highways at the end of this calendar year. And we are now in the same calendar year where we are sticking to that time frame of, when we hope to get to that record decision. So,
Good.
I'm stay on the bridge, no worries. Just like, once again, staying in this idea of like communication, what does budgeting and funding look like to get this done, right? And what should the public know about how that process works so that they can be more educated when they walk into?
sure.
Because like, we're talking about logistics, about how things should flow, and I get that's what people's concerns are, but they need to understand it's this decision versus that decision, it costs this, and this would, and that trade-off looks like this and how it means, what that looks like to me. from a
Yeah.
financial perspective.
So I can address kind of process and high level because we're not really at that stage yet where, you know, we have to figure out what our alternative is that we're gonna be building, and then we can get into that financial. But the MDTA, because, and it's, you know, we've presented the last few legislative sessions. So with our current financial position, if we're assuming we continue to get 100% federal funding for the Key Bridge, we still need a toll increase in 2028. So fiscal year 2028, which will be, that'll be in public hearings about tolls will be happening in calendar year 2027. So our board would need to make a decision about, you know, what the increases should be. We haven't had a toll increase in 10 years, so we can't fund the bridge with either likely what we have now in the toll structure, or likely what we would do for a bump up to catch up and to keep our financial standards. So the Bay Bridge discussion would be, you know, what more would be needed from a toll increase standpoint. So we'd be looking at a bump in 27 to fund our existing program, potentially, you know, some, you know, small movement ahead on the Bay Bridge. So it's going to be a decision at that point of whether you kind of like jump into a Bay Bridge funding and those recommendations, or whether that maybe would wait another couple of years when you have more design done on the Bay Bridge and you talk about this the phasing to know how much you need to do for a first span, and then being looking forward to, you know, what you'd have to bump with the second span. Or you could, you know, increase your toll sooner and bank some of that money so that your debt isn't as great. All those decisions are things that have to be considered as we move through this process. And that's the fun that we all get to have as we live through, you know, doing this.
But just to be clear, the budget numbers in there are for both bridges or for one?
That's for both bridges.
Okay, thank you.
Think I feel a little better?
Yeah. that's-
And, you know, we did, I mean, there were some comments about the numbers that were shared last fall, right? No, 2 falls ago now
Last
that I'm
fall.
in 26.
Oh,
The fall of
right.
24.
Yes.
Right, where we had much lower number cost estimates for some of these. You know, these have had to consider like what we have learned from the Key Bridge in terms of what the impacts of inflation are, what the realities of peer protection are for, you know, for bridges. So, you know, you've got the team's best, you know, guesses, as I said, for both bridges.
I just think it takes people a lot of time to understand where their dollars go,
does.
and you gotta like start communicating that change almost
Absolutely.
now. That's my thought. So,
I start communicating, I can afford to even do it.
yeah, right.
Big plan if you can't afford it. On a waste of time.
But you can see the economic benefit numbers here too.
Any good questions?
Yeah, well, I got one last one. I sent out questions, and I sent out, who saw the video, westbound Fan Center Lane. And I know it was right after the decking was, the lane one was done, the redecking that was in this meeting, where you were back on board. And I brought up this, you could see cracks. You could see cracks along the edges of where the new decking was put in, and cracks in the center, lane 2. And everyone said, no, it's fine. I said, okay, and I let it go. And now, it seems like in the last 6 months, we've gone from no patches in that lane 2 to hundreds of patches.
So I thought you were gonna ask that question when Jim was up there, so.
Well, I was, but he was talking about those other projects, so, you know, I'm like,
Heather's not gonna answer that. so-
right, no, yeah. And the reason I asked it was, we know that we're every bit of 20 years away from that bridge coming down, the new bridge. So does that mean that patching's there, and then sooner or later, we're gonna have to do like we did in lane 1? Boy, that'll be a nightmare, to mill it and redeck, you know, re-pour that concrete, that would be, ooh. You know, like, so,
Well, I mean, I would say there's, you know, purpose in this study and what been talked about is the, you know, the maintenance or replacement costs of the
yeah,
existing bridges is a significant reason why we're, you know, in this process now. And I know you keep adding a few years every time you talk about the time frame, and I'm not gonna dispute it because we're not, you know, don't have our data yet, but we're gonna try to
believe me.
do
I
faster.
got like
but-
the under promise and overachieve, and that's great, I love it, right?
Right, but Jim, do you want to just address a little bit about West Bend?
Right, so I think what you're pointing out is just, you know, what we all know is just the current state of ongoing, maintenance and repair efforts to existing spans. Goes to the purpose and need for the study for a new bridge. And so, the condition, obviously, we're out there inspecting. I talked about the project that has the on-call, so, when we have inspection findings, we have the contract mechanism that allows us to go out and address those. So one of those open task orders of the 9 that we have open with the contractor is to patch, lane 2 on the westbound bridge. So those, we've identified areas where, that riding surface is delaminating from the rest of the deck, and so we have to go out there.
So that's not a full depth.
Square, it's a partial depth. Square it up. I mean, if we wait, it'll become a full depth. Then it becomes things like, lane 1 again.
Right. Well, and
so
we all know patches.
Trying to avoid that, and keep it in good enough shape to continue to have a service life that extends beyond the replacement.
Well, what is your off the record best guess at how long those patches are gonna last?
We may have to,
Until they put the
Again,
new
but-
ones.
we're optimistic that we'll be able to go. Obviously, we don't know the outcome of the study, so we do have, long-term projects for both bridges, right? So we have the redecking phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. So we have those all, in our long-range needs. We have long-range plans for those that extend beyond even, the replacement cycle of.
I guess just for,
It's all part of the calculation, and
I mean, the public looks at that and we hear it all the time. We're spending $1 billion redecking lane, the eastbound bridge only to tear it down 4 or 5 years after the decking's completed. I mean, it's just, that's an ouch. $1 billion could have gone to something else. So.
It's,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
the challenge though, and you know this, so I'm not, but is with all these significant quarters, we've been through this on the Canton Viaduct on 895 with the Nice Middleton Bridge, is that, when I left the last time around, I wasn't sure that the Nice Middleton was gonna be funded, right? I just, we tried to preserve funding through the toll reduction so that Nice Middleton could keep going, but at that stage, and we were getting to the end of that life cycle. They could have kept the Nice Middleton going a little with patching and everything else. But then the replacement did turn out, the funding could happen, it moved forward. So we're, because these are such significant corridors where you don't have detours around, you can't do things, that's the investments you have to make in some of these things.
Yeah.
And I dispute that it's a waste of money because you have to keep the commerce going and everything.
But in a perfect,
Well, you don't,
in
yeah.
a perfect world, we
In a
get ready to
perfect,
start construction.
let me know when you find the world and I will join you there.
these are we have, asset management programs, we have system preservation programs. Those are things that we, look at and plan in advance. You have to make decisions years in advance in order to get some of these projects underway.
Yeah.
And then you have to make the decision based on what you know at the time. And sometimes you end up looking back and saying, well, it turns out we could have done something differently. But at the time that you make the decision to move forward, you can't, you just don't know that yet. And so once we have a plan for moving forward with a span or 2 spans of the Bay Bridge, then you can look at, okay, how do I change my approach on preserving the existing asset, knowing that it's going to go away and be retired in a 5-year period, right? But until we get there, we have to, as the owner operator, we've got to plan longer term then. So it's a catch-22 sometimes.
I mean,
Especially
More questions?
You feel, of course, you feel all that area there is safe to travel on.
Oh.
And it's odd to me that it's all in like a couple hundred yards. But you
well, they
know,
just haven't
patches.
finished.
Huh?
They haven't finished yet. That's it. They're working their way to the top.
Oh, yeah.
Some of that has, just has different, timelines on when it's been, recently, relaxed overlay. So some of that is bearing out and you're seeing when some of that was overlaid last and some wasn't. So, we did as much as we could on lane 2. But we did the worst parts when we were there on lane 1. There were, if you can recall back to 2019, there was days we jumped out and were working in lane 2. Um, And and so we did what we could. We addressed some major ones there, knowing that we would have to kind of do this patching work.
Questions? All right, thank you. Following up. Next, we have unfinished business. The first thing is the Bay Bridge run from Bay Bridge Administrator James Turner. Are you gonna take it? Oh, maybe 300 plus.
And Heather, sorry, we, pushed you outside. You didn't want to take that question, but thank you again for everything that you and your team and sorry, Melissa couldn't be here, but thank you.
Good presentation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Billy Clown, the Deputy Administrator for the Bay Bridge. I'll be standing in for Mr. Turner tonight. So, as you're aware, the 2025 Bay Bridge run was canceled due to weather. During the inclement weather, MDTA does not implement two-way traffic operations, which is required to close the eastbound span to allow the event to occur. The decision to cancel the race was made by MDTA in consultation with Oregon Sports at 8 p.m. the night prior to the event. Subsequent cancellation notifications to customers and race participants were issued shortly after the decision was made, alerting motorists that the event was canceled and the bridge was open to normal traffic. Please be assured that this decision was not taken lightly. The safety of the bridge customers, employees, and runners is MDTA's top priority. Although the event was canceled, a public safety after action review meeting was held on December 2nd, where we reviewed challenges faced and improvement suggestions. We will be meeting with Corrigan Sports in the upcoming weeks to discuss the 2026 run. If there's any questions. No?
Thank you. Next, unfinished is lane use control update. Lane use control brought up before the route bumper brigade.
Yes, I'd like to, it's something that I've addressed, a couple times since I've been a member here. Again, just mentioning that I do travel around on a regular basis. Well, what is being done in reference to the red X or red light runners? That is a major issue on Route 50. Again, there's been, just within the last 2+ weeks, there has been some confusing, lane indicators, even though I understand what they mean, but I think to maybe the general public, Jim, you may have seen these along the way. Coming eastbound, this is about the last 2 weeks or so, 2-3 weeks at the most. There is only one lane with a green arrow, and that's the far right-hand lane. We're coming eastbound now. The middle lane is a red X all the way back as far as you can go. The far left-hand lane has yellow X's until you get up closer to the Bay Bridge. It is you would not believe, and you could look at your cameras, whatever you got to do. I think there's got to be some consistency with those arrows or X's. If they're all going to make them all red instead of yellow on one lane, red in the middle lane, and of course, there's a green arrow. The people who sit in that green arrow lane just constantly sit. They hardly move because the traffic flow is so heavy in the other two lanes. I guess it would be lane 1 and 2. Is that correct? Am I identifying that correctly? 1 and 2.
So the highway's different than this.
No, it's 4, 5, and 6.
Yeah,
4 or 5,
okay,
excuse me.
whatever it is. Anyway, going eastbound, far left-hand lane. I don't know that language though, but going eastbound, far left-hand lane, middle lane, and right-hand lane. Right-hand lane has the green arrow. This has happened 2 or 3 times within the last 2 or 3 weeks. For some reason, there was only one lane open. The last time the lane was, the one far right-hand lane was green, they were routing traffic over into the truck scale area. I don't know if anybody's aware of that. Are you aware of that? I forgot your name. It's not Jamie.
Different question to back up.
Yeah.
Sit down too soon, different topic.
Yeah. So I don't know why it was that way, but do you know what day I'm talking about?
if they were routing traffic into the,
Yeah, here's the picture. Going eastbound, left-hand lane had yellow X's to a certain point, and then it was all red. The middle lane had red X's from the very beginning all the way to
So
the
can we,
Bay
can
Bridge.
we pause there? Because maybe that the street, like the middle lane being all red, do you know when that would occur?
I know we've been doing contraflow on our eastbound span, I believe it was last week.
Yeah, but in this
And
case,
doing construction on the westbound
yeah,
span.
there's
So
there was only one green
What time
arrow.
of day?
This was in the evening, late evening, it was dark at that time. But there was the green arrow was in the far right-hand lane.
Yeah.
The State Highway Administration trucks, or MTA, was blocking the two lanes that you would normally travel on. And the green arrow, and they were routing people into the truck scale
Wind restrictions.
area.
yes,
There's a-
What is that
wind
gonna do with that?
restrictions.
I've never seen that
That's
before.
because it was a wind restriction, full wind restriction of Bay Bridge.
Gotcha.
And they were cutting trucks off.
yes, on our level.
Make sure they're allowed to try to
restrictions,
keep them
we
off the
do
bridge.
funnel
Yeah.
traffic
Okay,
through
gotcha.
the scale house area
So-
to check the truck.
So the issue, there's an issue, I mean, it's fine for one green arrow to go in that direction, everybody knows what that means. But what is being done about all the people, and I mean hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that run those two lanes to the left? Left lane, middle lane. What is being done to stop that?
To stop running through the red X area.
That's exactly right.
There's, MDTA does do targeted enforcement.
You would
on those
never
red
know
X
it though,
lanes.
it's, I mean, it's really, I mean, Jim, do you see this?
Well, yeah, all the time, but we were gonna get legislation this year, but correct me if I'm wrong, you guys wanna do a study or something, is that?
So the conversations that we've had, and I mean, we can shift to that next. I think it'd be good to close out the kind of the discussion of this. I think we do need to just, maybe come back to or think through when some of the yellows and reds are, we had a long discussion with one of the
Yeah.
delegates that's thinking
You had
sponsoring
yellow, red, and
this
green.
this
It doesn't
legislation.
make sense.
But I do want to say that on these wind condition days, that you should be seeing the overhead sign saying the wind
I do know,
restrictions.
yes, yes.
And we are always gonna have lots of congestion. I mean, we see it, right? It just builds up,
Right.
and the wind on the bridge, at this discussion, is always a lot
Well, this
different
one
than
day
the
was
wind
really windy.
on the
This
ground.
last-
Yeah,
the last
I know, I think we all saw
Mhm.
impacts all over the place, but, so that was everywhere, but sometimes those wind conditions up on the top of the bridge are totally different than what we're seeing on the shores. So I just want to kind of for the
Sure.
record say that.
Sure.
So any other questions for Billy
Yeah,
about
just to
about
make
that
sure, and
configuration?
I don't know if I would think that they realize what they're setting those lane control indicators at, but there is, there needs to be more consistency there. If you've got only one lane open, far right, we're talking about eastbound now, that's where your major problems are. Far right-hand lane had a green arrow, the other two should be just totally red all the way back.
Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. And I know I was told back a while ago that a federal rule does not allow that. Is that correct? Is that still correct? I was told that here at this meeting.
Right, that's where we need to have some of the warning that it's about to turn red, especially for that
Yeah,
tip one on the left that we typically use for doing the contraflow.
but it's a major it really ties up traffic when people do that. And I know you're not gonna stop it all because people just, that fine sign don't mean anything to anybody. They don't, they see it, people travel it.
So I shouldn't have responded to the legislative request to put up more signs. Is that what you're saying?
If you remember,
Good sign.
it's on the record what I said, hey, make it $1,000 fine and you'll get people to stop doing it though, but you can't do that either, right?
So, yeah, I mean,
But that's all I can say
okay,
about
I
that.
mean, on the enforcement, we did have I had a personal conversation with one of the members of the delegation from the Eastern Shore that's considering putting in legislation. I mean, that is up to legislators to do what they want to do with legislation. That's above my pay grade. But we would need legislation to do automated enforcement for Red X, right?
Yeah.
We haven't found that system anywhere in the country that would do something like this system. It's not like speed cameras. It's not like work zone speed cameras. It's not like red light cameras. It'd be unique. So what we have initiated is, working with consultants to kind of think through this, to develop, concepts that would be able to be approved, that would give us an idea of cost and potentially effectiveness and, how this would work. So we are moving forward with that.
Good.
But we would need legislation to ultimately enact that. Now, so that I think the delegation is considering whether or not they would want to go forward with legislation this session, to, make that, allow us to do that, or if it'd be worth waiting until next legislative session to do that. Because I can tell you, we're not gonna, if it gets approved this session, it's not gonna be implemented before the end of next April. Like, it takes a while.
Yeah.
The speed camera program that was, authorized this last session, State Highways is working on the procurement, thank you. But that's complicated and that's taking a while, and there's some complexities with that one. And we benefit by their follow subsequent, procurement that's related to doing something on the ICC. So none of these systems get put in place very quickly, but what we're doing is, like, if it were authorized, we're gaining that information and getting ahead of that right now. It's a commitment. I think I made a couple meetings ago. I think you were here for that one, was the last one. I think it was maybe 2 ago, but.
Well, and that's where we came up with it from the delegate office, and is,
Yeah.
if you guys are gonna delve into it and do some research on it and come back with something, then we'll wait another year.
It's, yeah, that again,
I hate waiting, but
right.
I'd rather get it
Yes.
get it right.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
Get MDTA's, input on it and structure it the way that it'll work for them, it'll work for the public, and get us the results we want.
Sure.
Right.
Sure. I had one other comment that I forgot to mention. On this same day, you'll have your cameras or whatever will have record of this. We had an employee on the route that same day, and the same issues, got sideswiped by the same car from New Jersey 2 different times. Your maintenance guy, people may know about that. And the MTA police also were called in on it. The car ran, it did not stop. But our employee got the tag number and turned it into the police report. Now, whether it was state highway or MTA, I don't know. I think it was MTA, but it was on that same day, that took place also. I don't know if anybody's aware of that. You may not be aware of it, there may be the man in the back, I forgot his name.
Well, I get all the notices when we've had gate strikes, so I might have gotten that one too, I don't know.
It was whatever that high wind evening was, where you were routing your traffic by the truck scale, that same day. Whatever day that was. Yeah. Okay, that's it, that's all I have.
All righty, next thing we have is, new business, flag display request. Our first item of business, new business is request regarding the flag display on the 4th of July, 2026 from Queen Anne's County, brought before the group by member Garfield.
So we did receive, a request that was, from the Queen Anne's, the VFW, over in Queen Anne's County, and, one of the requests is there's, other bridges that display flags, from the structure of the bridge. That is not something that we felt comfortable exploring on this bridge. The bridges that were designed for that kind of like have ability to put that up there. They're, not the same structures or wind conditions that we have, but we are, doing some exploration and trying to very quickly come to, a place where we can order a flagpole that would probably sit, on the eastern shore side that would be able to display a fairly significant flag. We want to keep that flagpole kind of under that, more of a, Jim, 30 by 80 or something, no bigger than a 30 by 80, 30 by 60 flag, just to keep, kind of the cost down, because there were some financial offerings for, from the organization to support this, but it would cover, not half the cost.
What is the cost of it?
but-
You heard that estimate?
For to do a poll,
The poll, the big one, yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
It's a, I'll get back to you on the number,
Okay.
but it's
I know
over,
they're not cheap.
no,
I know that.
no, it's, I
I have
mean,
flags all over the
plus all the other estimates there, but it's a fairly good, so I think they're, but we are willing to do that and, be able to reuse that if we have, different alignment in 20 years, with bridges, 12 or 6 or whatever, but, camera doesn't know I'm joking around with you, but, we are looking at, I mean, we've got a significant, anniversary of the country coming up. It is I think there's a lot of support from, elected officials on the Eastern Shore to do this, and I'd like to So we're working towards getting something in, but we're cutting it right up against the time frame for, the 4th of July to do this, so.
Fly plenty of spare flags because you're on the bay.
And we're gonna be looking for funding, support for replacements, of those flags.
Not gonna last long.
No, they're not. So the offer of, people to support that kind of thing would be helpful, but we're gonna need to enter in agreements and things like that for that support as well.
The Red X fines are gonna pay for that.
There you go. There should be.
All right, the next thing we have is a Bay Crossing Study Support Letter. Support of the alternative C as an MDTA recommended preferred alternative for the Chesapeake Bay Crossing Study. Tier 2 National Environmental Policy Act. Members should have received a copy of the letter, and I now open the floor to group discussion prior to a vote to accept the letter and submit it to the appropriate agencies. If I have any issues with it, we didn't hear anything back. I'll probably send it out early. So everybody could read through it and get back to us with any comments.
It'd be nice if we take it home and read it.
Let's send it out. How long ago?
I don't know about that.
A week ago?
Yeah, we can go.
So that one sentence that I was talking about is in here, it's on the back page down near the bottom.
Yeah.
It says, there will be likely a necessary infrastructure upgrades in both AA and Queen County, to help facilitate the increased traffic. That's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Or whatever that means, but, that's great that it is being considered.
I think that was the key, was to recognize that that's a potential future issue.
Okay.
I have to say, Melissa provided some recommended ideas that we could include in this, and, which were extremely helpful. Thank you, Melissa. And, Tracy and I coordinated on it. This is the draft that we came up with, that we thought would generally reflect the concerns of the group.
Back by you, Bill. Give you all the credit.
Shared, Maybe I'll make a motion to accept the letter as presented.
Second, all in favor?
Yeah.
All right, yes.
Great,
So
thank you,
moved.
thank you.
Thank you, Jack, for all your time putting into this, Melissa. All right. So next we have public comments. We'll open the floor to comments from members of the public. Please wait until you are called upon to speak by Melissa Logan before presenting your comment.
And no request.
All right, next is our final. Our next meeting is scheduled to take place on Wednesday, April the 1st, April Fool's Day. May I please have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Can I ask one last question?
Okay.
The last couple of times I went across the bridge, they were repairing the gates. Couple of them. What do we average? How many times a month do we smash a gate? Anybody's car disabled completely and you gotta tow it, or?
I'm sorry.
How many times do we have to replace one of those gates per month?
There's a lot of breakaway components on the gates, so a lot of the times the gates can be repaired with the breakaway components or breaking the arms. I don't think there's ever anything that significant.
Couple times a month?
I would say so, easily, yes.
Thank you.
All righty. Motion to adjourn? Motion. So moved. Yeah. Everyone on April 1st.